Imagine this. Thousands of years ago, there were glorious civilizations that rose to the pinnacle of knowledge and power. Then suddenly, they fell into darkness. Cities disappeared without a trace, advanced technology became legend, and maps became mere rumors. Is history hiding something from us? Today, we will lift the veil of mystery, following scientists to discover 5 wonders that disappeared for thousands of years, now rediscovered, challenging all the limits of time and imagination. Get ready for a journey through space and time, my friends. Imagine an Egypt that is more than just the Great Pyramids towering over the desert, or the legendary Nile winding its way. Imagine a sprawling urban center right on the coast, where culture and trade from across the ancient world flowed. That would be Thonis-Heracleion. To the Greeks, it was Heracleion, associated with the stories of Heracles arriving in Egypt. To the native Egyptians, it was Thonis, a name that echoed power and wealth. Despite the 2 different names, both civilizations agreed that it was an indispensable port city, Egypt's main gateway to trade and contact with the outside world. At its height, Thonis-Heracleion was more than just a port. It was a thriving economic, cultural, and religious center. Ships from all over the Mediterranean Sea, from Greece, Crete, Phoenicia, and even further afield, had to dock here to clear customs and trade goods before entering the interior of Egypt via the Nile. Precious goods such as grain, linen, and Egyptian ceramics were exported, in exchange for wood, metals, olive oil, and wine from other civilizations. The city is a living testament to the intense cultural exchange between Egypt and Greece during that important period of history. In addition to its commercial role, Thonis-Heracleion was also a sacred religious city. It possessed magnificent temples dedicated to important gods such as Amun, Khonsu, and especially Osiris, the god of the underworld and rebirth. Important rituals, especially the Mystery of Osiris, a festival commemorating the death and resurrection of this god, were held here every year. These rituals attracted not only the Egyptian people but also believers from all over, contributing to affirming Thonis-Heracleion's central position in the kingdom's spiritual life. But then an ironic fate struck. Around the 2nd century BC, a series of catastrophic events put an end to the glory of Thonis-Heracleion. Scientists have put forward many hypotheses to explain this sudden and mysterious disappearance. The main cause is believed to be a combination of liquefaction and earthquakes. Thonis-Heracleion was built on a layer of soft clay, which is easily liquefied during earthquakes. When successive earthquakes occurred, the ground became unstable, causing the giant architectural structures to collapse and gradually sink below sea level. Not only that, tsunamis and floods also played an important role in wiping out this city. Huge tsunamis from the Mediterranean Sea swept everything out to sea while pushing the seawater deep inland, submerging low-lying areas. Flooding from the Nile may have also contributed to the inundation of the city, making reconstruction impossible. Thonis-Heracleion was not only submerged, but was quickly covered by a thick layer of mud and sediment, protecting it from the ravages of time, but also burying it in oblivion. For nearly 2 millennia, its name was only a faint inscription in ancient documents and legends, and no one knew its exact location. It became a mystery, sealed at the bottom of the sea. However, Thonis-Heracleion's fate changed in the early 2000s. This was thanks to the passion and tireless perseverance of French marine archaeologist Frank Gaudio. With extensive experience in searching for shipwrecks and underwater ruins, Gaudio spent years studying ancient maps, historical records, and legends to narrow down the area where the city might be buried. Using advanced technology, such as side-scan sonar and precise satellite positioning systems, Gaudio's team began a large-scale search of Abu Qir Bay, near Alexandria, Egypt. It was an incredibly difficult task, as visibility was very limited underwater and the search area was very large. But they did not give up. And then, something miraculous happened. In 2000, unusual signals on the sonar screen led them to a giant structure. When the divers went down to investigate, they could not believe their eyes. Under the thick layer of mud were the ruins of an ancient city. One of the first and most impressive discoveries was a colossal statue of Hapi, the god of the Nile flood, standing 5.4 meters high, lying on the seabed. This was irrefutable evidence. They had found Thonis-Heracleion, Since then, numerous underwater excavations have yielded a wealth of valuable artifacts. They have found colossal stone statues, not only the god Hapi, but also statues of pharaohs, Egyptian queens, possibly Cleopatra, and other gods such as Osiris and Isis, all exquisitely carved. Hundreds of ceremonial objects, including small boat models, bronze bells, and items related to religious ceremonies. Over 700 ancient anchors. This confirms that Thonis-Heracleion was an extremely busy maritime center. Stone tablets and stelae, with Egyptian hieroglyphs and ancient Greek script providing invaluable information about the history, royal decrees, and religious life of the city. Gold and bronze coins and jewelry, showing the wealth and prosperity of Thonis-Heracleion. Architectural remains, temple pillars, house foundations, and an intricate canal system reveal sophisticated urban planning. Most notable is the discovery of several intact boats, and even wicker fruit baskets fossilized 2,400 years ago, still containing olive and down palm seeds. These artifacts act as time capsules, preserving a moment of history frozen at the bottom of the sea. The discovery of Thonis-Heracleion was more than just a groundbreaking archaeological achievement. It rewrote part of Egyptian history. Previously, many historians doubted its existence or considered it a small city. But now, Thonis-Heracleion has been confirmed as a major center of power and culture, playing an important role in the relationship between Egypt and ancient Greece. This sunken city provides vivid evidence of the daily life, trade, and religious beliefs of ancient Egyptians in a way that land-based sites cannot. It shows us that ancient stories and seemingly fantastic legends sometimes contain surprising kernels of truth. Thonis-Heracleion is Egypt's real-life Atlantis, a city that lived, thrived, sank, and now, resurrected in our consciousness, continues to tell its stories from the depths of the sea. From the deep-sea cities, we will fly to a completely different land, where the majestic peaks of the Andes rise to the blue sky, and a civilization flourished without the need for a complex writing system. Let's explore the city of Caral in Peru, one of the oldest cradles of civilization in the Americas, a mystery that has slept under the dust for thousands of years. For a long time, archaeologists believed that the oldest civilization in the Americas was the Olmec people of Mexico, dating back to around 1200 BC. But then the discovery of Caral completely changed this view. Caral was built between 2600 BC and 2000 BC, which is the same time as the Great Pyramids of Egypt, and even centuries before the Olmec civilization. It is the oldest known city in the Americas, a living testament to the incredible development of man in the New World. Caral is located in the Supa Valley, about 200 kilometers north of Lima, on the Pacific coast of Peru. This is a land that at first glance appears to be arid, but the Supa River has silted it up, creating fertile oases, ideal for agriculture. This strategic location allowed Caral to control both the resources of the sea and the agricultural products of the valley. What really makes Caral special is not only its age, but also its architecture and social organization. The city covers an area of about 60 hectares, including dozens of massive architectural works made of stone and mud brick. The most prominent are the 6 large pyramids, although not as tall as the Egyptian pyramids, but extremely impressive in scale and complexity. Each pyramid had a central staircase leading to the top, where there were ceremonial courtyards, altars, and chambers. Surrounding the pyramids were circular plazas sunk into the ground, suggesting they may have been used for communal ceremonies or astronomical observations. The architecture of Caral reflects a highly organized and hierarchical society. There were residential areas for the elite, areas for commoners, and public buildings. The urban planning suggests a strong central government capable of mobilizing a large labor force to build monumental structures without the need for wheels or draft animals. The greatest mystery of Caral, however, is the absence of a traditional writing system. Unlike contemporaries in Egypt or Mesopotamia, the Caralians left behind no hieroglyphic or cuneiform texts. How did they manage such a complex society and transmit information? Archaeologists believe they used quipu, a system of recording and transmitting information using cotton or alpaca strings knotted in a certain pattern. While the exact meaning of the quipu at Caral remains a mystery, their discovery has opened up new avenues of research into how ancient societies without writing functioned. The Caral economy was largely based on agriculture and fishing. They grew cotton for weaving and making fishing nets, pumpkins, beans, guavas, and sweet potatoes. Notably, cotton was an important trade item, with coastal communities in exchange for dried fish and other marine products. This suggests that a complex trade network existed. The Caral people also developed advanced irrigation systems to optimize agricultural production in the arid environment of the Supe Valley. Despite its flourishing civilization, around 2000 BC, the Caral civilization began to decline and was eventually abandoned. Scientists believe that the main cause was climate change, specifically a drought that lasted hundreds of years. The scarcity of water from the Supe River devastated agriculture, the city's main source of income. At the same time, changes in terrain and sea levels may have affected trade routes and marine resources. Faced with these enormous challenges, the people of Caral were forced to abandon their city, looking for new lands to live on. Caral was left behind, gradually buried by dust and time, becoming a ghost city forgotten for millennia. It was not until the late 20th century that the mystery of Caral began to be revealed. Although initial surveys were made in the 1940s and 1970s, it wasn't until the 1990s, under the leadership of Peruvian archaeologist Ruth Shady Solis, that Caral's true significance was recognized. Solis's extensive excavations revealed massive pyramidal architecture, ceremonial plazas, residential areas, and countless artifacts, confirming that Caral was not just a village, but a complex urban center. What was found at Caral really changed the history textbooks of the Americas. The artifacts included stone and mud brick structures, showing advanced construction techniques, musical instruments made from bird and animal bones, including flutes and trumpets, showing a developed music scene, fired clay figurines depicting human and animal figures, textiles, especially cotton, confirming the important role of cotton, and of course, quipus, evidence of a unique writing system. The discovery of Caral was more than just the discovery of an ancient city. It opened a new window into our understanding of the development of civilization in the Americas, showing that humans could create complex, highly organized societies without the technology or systems we once thought were essential, like writing or the wheel. Caral is a testament to the diversity of how humans organized their societies, built structures, and transmitted knowledge over thousands of years. Caral stands there, silently telling the story of a civilization that flourished, faced the challenges of nature, and eventually gave way to the next civilization. It is a reminder that history still holds many mysteries waiting to be discovered by persistent scientists, and that each discovery helps us piece together the puzzle of humanity's great journey on this earth. If Thonis-Heracleion was the crown jewel of Egypt, then in ancient Greece, there was an equally glorious city that was tragically and mysteriously wiped off the map. That was Helike, a name that for centuries was only an echo of a tragic story, a Greek Atlantis engulfed by the fury of nature. Helike was no small town. At its height, around the 8th to 4th centuries BC, it was one of the most important and prosperous cities of the Achaean League, a powerful confederation of ancient Greek city-states. Located on the northern coast of the Peloponnese Peninsula, overlooking the Corinthian Gulf, Helike was a thriving economic and cultural center. Its wealth came from its fertile soil and favorable geographical position for maritime trade. The city was famous for its own minted coins, with the symbol of Poseidon, the god of the sea and earthquakes, at the top of 3 spears. This was a terrible premonition of its fate. Among the splendid architectural works of Helike, the most prominent was the Temple of Poseidon Helikonios, a massive and majestic temple dedicated to the sea god whom the people of Helike deeply revered. Here important festivals and ceremonies were held, attracting worshippers from all over. Helike's influence was not limited to military or economic matters. It was also a major religious and cultural center, where important meetings of the Achaean League were held regularly. But then, on a fateful night in 373 BC, all that splendor was wiped out in an instant. The story of Helike's fall is told by ancient historians such as Strabo and Pausanias, although the details differ somewhat. According to the accounts, on that fateful evening, a terrible earthquake shook the entire area. The earthquake was so powerful that it not only destroyed buildings, but also caused the ground to split open and even change the terrain. The worst was yet to come. Immediately after the earthquake, a giant tsunami swept in from the Corinthian Gulf, perhaps caused by the earthquake, causing part of the land to collapse or triggering an underwater landslide. The tsunami was described as being taller than the trees, swallowing up the entire Helike and the surrounding small towns. No one in the city survived. According to some accounts, even ships anchored in the harbor were swept away and found miles away. In the blink of an eye, a bustling urban center turned into an underwater cemetery, a mystery deep in the sea. After the disaster, Helike completely disappeared from the face of the earth. For centuries afterward, locals and sailors still told strange stories. Divers said they could see the ruins of the underwater city, even hear the ringing of temple bells echoing from the seabed. These stories reinforced the belief in a cursed city, protected by the god Poseidon, but also destroyed by him. However, no one knew exactly where it was or how to find it. Helike became an unsolvable mystery, a historical puzzle that generations of archaeologists and historians have tried to solve. The task of finding Helike was indeed a great challenge. Unlike Thonis-Heracleion, which was submerged in the sea, Helike was buried under a thick layer of alluvial sediment deposited by nearby rivers over thousands of years. It was not under the sea, but deep underground, in a fertile agricultural area. It was not until the late 20th century that persistent efforts by archaeologists began to bear fruit. Led by Dora Katsanopoulou and Stephen Soder of the Helike Archaeological Project, a systematic search was launched. They used advanced geophysical survey methods, including ground-penetrating radar and sonar, to detect structures hidden under the ground and water. Based on ancient records and analysis of the geology of the area, they narrowed down a possible area. And then, in the 1990s and early 2000s, the first evidence emerged. Excavations have uncovered the remains of mud brick walls, streets, and ceramic fragments dating back to the classical Greek period, which matches the date of Helike's destruction. Notably, they found distinctive clay layers that showed signs of a major flood and soil liquefaction, which matches descriptions in ancient documents of how Helike disappeared. One of the most interesting discoveries was the discovery of an ancient paved road, part of a larger road, perfectly buried under the mud and sediment. Along this road, archaeologists also unearthed house structures, cisterns, and other artifacts. They also found evidence of a semicircular structure that is believed to be part of a temple, although the main temple of Poseidon is still up for grabs. The discovery of Helike is a triumph for archaeology and a testament to the power of perseverance and science. It not only confirms the existence of a city that was once thought to be a myth, but also provides vivid evidence of the destructive power of nature. Helike is no longer a sad fairy tale. It is a history lesson in the fragility of civilizations and the surprising capabilities of the earth. Like Thonis-Heracleion, Helike has shown us that the greatest secrets of the past sometimes lie right under our feet, waiting to be discovered. And the story of Helike continues to inspire scientists around the world, encouraging them to continue searching for the lost, because with each mystery revealed, we learn more about ourselves and about the journey of humanity. Among the countless ancient Greek myths and legends, perhaps none has been more deeply imprinted on the human mind than the epics Iliad and Odyssey by the great poet Homer. These epics tell of the 10-year war between the Greeks, Achaeans, and the mighty city of Troy, of the cunning wooden horse, of great heroes such as Achilles, Hector, Odysseus, and of the stunning beauty of Helen that sparked a never-ending war. For thousands of years, the question has haunted us: did Troy really exist, or was it all just a product of Homer's boundless imagination? Today, we will find the answer to this mystery. For centuries, scholars and the public believed that Troy was just a legend, a fictional setting to tell stories about heroes and fate. There was no concrete physical evidence, and its location was unclear. Even ancient Greek historians like Herodotus referred to Troy as a historical place, but did not provide enough information to locate it. The city, with its heroes and tragedies, seemed to exist only in immortal poems, far removed from reality. However, in the mid-19th century, a man emerged with a strong belief that Troy was real, and that he would find it. He was Heinrich Schliemann, an amateur but passionate archaeologist who had made a fortune in business and devoted his life to pursuing his childhood dream of finding Troy. Schliemann was obsessed with Homer's epics, believing that Homer's writings were not just poetry but also a record of history. He taught himself ancient Greek and pored over every word of the Iliad, searching for clues to its location. Based on the Iliad's descriptions of the terrain, its proximity to the Hellespont, modern-day Dardanelles, and the Scamander River, Schliemann focused his search on a small mound called Hisarlik in present-day Turkey. In 1870, he began his excavations. Schliemann's excavations at Hisarlik were quite crude by modern standards. He was not a trained archaeologist, and in his search for Homeric Troy, he dug through several layers of older culture, causing some irreversible damage. However, it was his daring and persistence that brought about the shocking results. As he dug deeper into the Hisarlik mound, Schliemann found not one but several layers of ancient settlements, stacked on top of each other like slices of an onion. He discovered a total of 9 city layers, or more complex, depending on the classification, each representing a different period, with distinct architectural features and artifacts. This suggests that Hisarlik was a site with a history of settlement spanning thousands of years, from the early Bronze Age to the Roman period. Although Schliemann initially declared Troy the 6th layer to be Homeric Troy, a city layer that dates much earlier than the time when the legendary war is believed to have taken place, around 1200 BC. He even found a collection of gold jewelry and objects that he called the Treasure of Priam, directly linked to the legendary King of Troy. However, later studies have shown that this treasure belongs to a much earlier culture, and is most likely unrelated to the Trojan War. Despite the error in identifying Homer's Troy, Schliemann's discovery opened the door to further research. Later archaeologists continued their work at Hisarlik using more precise scientific methods. They determined that Troy 6, and especially Troy Seth A, were the best candidates for Homer's Troy. Troy VI c. 1700 to 1300 BC was a large imposing city with impressive walls and defenses, comparable to the Mycenaean cities of Greece. It was destroyed around 1300 BC, probably by a major earthquake. The most important layer, Troy Sefta, c. 1250 to 1180 BC, is located directly above the ruins of Troy 6. It was a hastily rebuilt city, but it shows clear signs of violent conflict. Archaeologists found thick layers of ash, red-hot mud bricks, and collapsed structures. This is consistent with descriptions of Troy being burned after its fall. Several human skeletons, including some of children, were found among the ruins, suggesting that they were killed in the chaos and not given a proper burial. Bronze and iron spearheads and arrowheads were found scattered among the layers of ruins. Evidence suggests that the city had undergone a long siege, with limited supplies of water and food. The date of Troy Setha, c. 1250 to 1180 BC, fits quite precisely with the time frame that modern historians and writers estimate for the Trojan War, usually placed around 1200 BC. These findings provide compelling evidence that a powerful city called Troy, or a similar name, existed in Hisarlik, and that it experienced a major conflict and was destroyed by fire around the time described by Homer. While it is impossible to say for sure that every detail of the Iliad is true, for example, was there a giant wooden horse? It is clear that there is a historical core behind the myth. Homer probably used real events, a long war, a siege, and the fall of an important city, as the basis for his literary masterpiece. After exploring sunken cities and forgotten civilizations, we come to another mystery, one that is not underground or under the sea, but drawn on an ancient antelope skin. That is the Peru race map, one of the most controversial and intriguing world maps of all time. This map is not only a masterpiece of ancient cartography, but also a puzzle, challenging all our understanding of the history of human exploration and knowledge. The Peru race map was discovered in 1929 at the Topkapi Palace in Istanbul, Turkey. It is an antelope skin map, drawn in 1513 by Piri Reis, a famous naval admiral, cartographer and geographer of the Ottoman Empire. Piri Reis was not just a mapmaker, he was also an experienced navigator who explored many seas himself and recorded his travels. At first glance, the Piri Reis map looks like many nautical charts of the period, known as portolan charts. It depicts the coasts of Europe, North Africa, and the eastern coast of South America quite accurately. Piri Reis clearly noted on the map that he had compiled information from a variety of sources, including about 20 old maps and charts, some of which may date back to ancient Greece or even to the time of Alexander the Great. His use of diverse sources shows his meticulousness and eagerness to learn. For example, the section depicting the coast of South America, especially the coast of Brazil, is remarkably accurate compared to other maps drawn at the same time. This amazed cartographers, because in 1513 the Americas had been discovered by Christopher Columbus for less than 2 decades. Exploration into the interior of South America was still in its infancy. So how did Piri Reis draw such a detailed coastline? This suggests that he may have had access to information or maps from earlier explorers, or even older sources of knowledge. However, what really makes the Piri Reis map such a puzzling and controversial mystery is its southernmost part. The map appears to depict a southern continent, thought to be Antarctica. But incredibly, the continent's coastline is shown to be ice-free. Remember, in 1513, Antarctica had not yet been explored by Europeans. It wasn't until 1820, more than 300 years after Piri Reis drew his map, that the continent was officially discovered. And even more astonishingly, modern geological data show that the coast of Antarctica, especially Queen Maud Land and other areas, has been covered by ice thousands of meters thick for at least 6,000 years, and has been completely ice-free since about 12,000 years ago. So how could a map drawn in the early 16th century depict with astonishing accuracy a continent that Europeans had never seen, and show it in an ice-free state that had not existed for at least 6 millennia? This is the question that has puzzled scientists, historians, and theorists for decades. There are several main hypotheses that have been put forward to explain this mystery. The Advanced Ancient Origins hypothesis. This is the most widely supported and also the most controversial hypothesis. It is suggested that Piri Reis used very ancient original maps, possibly drawn by long-lost civilizations with extremely advanced knowledge of geography and cartography. These civilizations may have existed at a time when Antarctica was not completely covered by ice, possibly at the end of the last ice age, over 10,000 years ago, or they had advanced technology to draw maps from the air, e.g. using complex latitude and longitude measurements that would have taken modern science thousands of years to achieve. Piri Reis noted that he used a map drawn by Christopher Columbus and some ancient maps drawn since the time of Alexander the Great, which further supports the hypothesis of ancient origins. Theories of error and coincidence. Some more conservative scientists argue that the appearance of Antarctica on the Piri Reis map is simply a coincidence or a cartographic error. They argued that the coastlines could be from another region, e.g. the overextended southern coast of South America or an unknown island. However, the striking match of some of the coastlines to the actual topography of Antarctica, when ice-free, undermined this hypothesis. The Ancient Knowledge Legacy Hypothesis. This hypothesis proposes that there was a vast storehouse of geographical knowledge from ancient civilizations, such as Atlantis or other prehistoric civilizations, that was passed down through the generations or preserved in secret libraries, and that Piri Reis was fortunate enough to have access to a portion of that storehouse. This may explain why he had access to information that no one else at the time could have. Among those who have studied the Piri Reis map in depth is Professor Charles Hapgood, an American historian of science. In the 1960s, Hapgood and his students used advanced cartographic techniques to analyze the Piri Reis map. They concluded that the map used a complex map projection, which may indicate that its origin was from a civilization with knowledge far beyond Piri Reis's time. He even suggested that the original map may have been drawn from the air, or that it used sophisticated methods of trigonometry and astronomy to determine longitude and latitude, a feat that would take European navigators centuries to achieve. The Peru race map remains one of the greatest mysteries in the history of cartography and exploration. It not only raises questions about the extent of ancient civilizations' knowledge of geography, but also challenges conventional views of the progress of science and technology. Could it be that at some point in the distant past, humans reached a level of civilization far greater than we think, and that knowledge was lost, leaving only fragments like this map? The stories of Thonis-Heracleion, Helike, Caral, Troy, and the Peru race map are powerful evidence that history is not always contained in books. They are precious pieces hidden by time and nature, waiting to be patiently searched for and revealed by humans. Each discovery not only enriches our treasure trove of knowledge, but also serves as a reminder of the wisdom, creativity, and even tragedy of ancient civilizations. This world still has countless mysteries waiting for you. Which mystery impressed you the most? Or what would you like us to discover next? Leave a comment below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on exciting journeys of discovery with us. You want to learn something new every day? This channel is for you. Subscribe to get the latest tutorials and lessons.